Chapter 17: Lifelong Friends Through Music. A person makes many friends as he grows up in a neighborhood, makes his way through grade school, on through high school, onto a career. But for some lucky people, some of the lifelong friends come by other means. For me, it was through music. Sure, I have friends today that I still am in contact with that grew up in my neighborhood. Friends like Linda Hancock Porter. We keep in touch by Facebook, and I have visited with her from time to time. She calls me her little brother since she and I are both the only children our parents had. There is also my buddy from 2 doors down on Dale Avenue, Gary Smith. He and I were very close as we grew up together, and we still keep in touch. Of course, as I got into high school, the circle of friends changed and got larger. Some of them stayed in Danville as I did, and we see each other from time to time. When we do, it is always good to talk about old times. The fact is, nothing is more rewarding than getting together with those that I made music with over the years. It all started while in my high school years. Learning to play guitar at home with my dad was a very fortunate thing. As rock and roll took over the world, being able to play the guitar made you immediately in demand. As soon as I was 15 years old, I was asked to play in a new group that we called the Chevelles. This was the first year that Chevy came out with this new mid-size car. There were only 3 of us at first, 2 guitars and stand-up bass. We played all instrumentals and mainly songs by the Ventures. Later we added drums and went on to play several gigs at places like teen dances at the local American Legion. Soon Bill Long, the other guitar player who was the leader and older, went off to college and that band ended. Now I'm in high school, have my first car, a 1955 Chevy, and meet a guy named Jeff Ross. This is the one that has been by my side through lots and lots of musical history. I'm glad to say that he is still close by living in Champaign, and he and I have been the ones to organize 2 great reunions with many of our musician friends. He and I were in the first group that we called the Village Five. Later, we changed the name to just the Villagers, since there were not always 5 in the band. We were able to bring many of the original band members together for our 40-year reunion, and then bring them together again for a 50-year reunion in 2016. There was a special day in my life in the summer of 1965. This picture below captures the moment that I first laid eyes on Marilyn Kuhn. This picture tells it all. Here again, it was through music that I met this future mother of my daughter, Michelle. It was an amazing 6.5 years with Marilyn, much, much too short. There will be more about those years and other stories. As the 60s gave way to the 70s, I was able to get back into music. It took a while after our tragic loss in 1972. I had been playing every Friday and Saturday night at a very popular club in Westville called Freddy's. I took time off from music for about 2 years. I was not looking to get back into music, but Neil Underwood, who was the leader of the Don Woods Orchestra, called me. My dad played bass for him from time to time, and Neil said that he had a gig at the Danville American Legion that Saturday, and my dad couldn't make it. He wanted to know if I would play bass for him. I told him that I only played guitar, and Neil promptly said, "Well, if you play guitar, you can surely play bass." He assured me that I would have no trouble and I should come to rehearsal at his house in Fairmount that Wednesday evening. I gave in and called my dad to see if I could get the bass guitar back that he had been using for a couple of years. I got it from a kid who had bought it new at the local music store and gave up trying to learn to play. I got the bass and attended the rehearsal. I was as nervous as a cat with kittens when we started that night. Neil calmly said to just sit by the piano player and watch the chord charts and follow along. I did, and with a little help from the piano player, I got through the night. That night changed me into a bass player. I went on and played that Saturday at the Legion, and Neil asked me to be his regular bass player. Cool. The band was one that fit my dad's style of music, playing old standards like Satin Doll, Goodnight Irene, and Moonlight in Vermont. We usually had drums, piano, trumpet, bass, and Neil on sax. They all played from sheet music, but I soon memorized the songs, probably like my dad. I really enjoyed playing in that band, and I was now a bass player. Neil and his wife Nikki moved to Austin, Texas. I went to visit them a couple of times, including one time with Michelle alongside me. That's another story in itself. Neil was a lifelong friend. Neil passed away in 2014, and I gave a short eulogy thanking him for getting me back into music. After Neil had moved to Austin in the mid-70s, a bass player was needed again. There was a very popular band called Spice, headed by Herb Weiss, and had the area's best musicians, including Punky Ice. They asked me to play for them. Here again, I was able to make more lifelong friendships. I was with that band until they stopped playing on New Year's Eve 1980 to 1981. When I started my home recording studio, Herb, Punky, and I would get together frequently and write and record songs. That was actually the first time any of us had written any original songs. We had always played songs heard on the radio. I lost a very good friend and fellow musician when Punky Harlan Ice passed away in July 2015.